Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Coach D, the Wild Man, with another episode of Coach D's Rants. This is where I take my time and go in as I see MMA, as I see UFC. I try to get it off my chest. Of course, actually I have a chest cold, so I might not be getting it out with the same type of bass that I normally do, trying to get over it, but I'm here to give you what I got. Okay. As you know, when it comes to the UFC, we try to look for certain things, certain standards that we can live by. As fight fans, we try to go, okay, who's the next contender? Who's the next coming up? Who's the next star? What's the next fight? What's going to be the next fight card? We try to have a census of what's going on. And we try to find our best to track what's going on. So we put certain websites and certain podcasts in our feeds, either UFC's, Twitter, wherever we go to find information so that we can stay up to date on what's going on. And I do the same thing too. I talk about what's fights coming up and how fights went and blah, blah, blah. So we all try to know what's going on with the UFC. Okay? But recently, it's been a lot of chaos going on right now. We don't really know what's going on with our favorite fighters, with our favorite promotions. Things we're looking to expect, we don't see, and we don't really know why it's happening. Okay, now, when it comes to the UFC, the guy that has always been at the helm of everything that's being done is Dana White. He's basically the voice of the UFC. So anything we hear, anything we see, anything that suspects to go down, once we hear it from Dana White, it's usually the gospel. If he says he's going to do something, we look for him to do it. Okay, now since the UFC has been bought out, lately, Dana White hasn't had the kind of stroke that he used to have. Now that the Petiti brothers are gone and Joe Silva's gone, the matchmaking has been a little bit off, and we're not really getting what we're supposed to get. If we expect this fight to happen, we expect it to happen. Now fights aren't happening. People are asking for more money. Which is the more money part has been standard. People has been talking a lot more mess on Facebook. It's been going at Dana White. You know, back in the day, if you went at Dana White, your career was over. You know what I'm saying? If you gave him a hard way to go and he took it personal, you could X yourself getting any kind of fights, getting on UFC, whatever. He will pretty much blackball you from the UFC. But now lately, fighters has been able to simply just go off and talk about anything and do just about anything. Okay, and Dana White is not shutting stuff down. The UFC is not shutting stuff down. A lot of stuff is happening that normally wouldn't be able to go. Okay, so let's talk about the press conference for UFC 14. Is it UFC 14? I want to say it's UFC 14, but I'm going to take another look just to make sure so I don't give you the wrong information. But I want to say it was the press conference for UFC 14. Okay, and the UFC 14 card is the one that's supposed to be with Daniel Cormier and John Jones, which is what we'll be talking about along with it. Excuse me, my second computer is running kind of slow, which is how that goes. But I want to say it is UFC 14. All right, hold on. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, that's what it was. Oh, before I get into it, we had a lot of great fights. I was at Warfare when they had their fight, and I was also at Next Level when they had their fight. Great fights. Now, I apologize. I have been messing up a lot of fighters' names, and I'm saying for all the fighters that have been messing up your name, I apologize. I'm going to get it right. I'm going to spend more time learning how to pronounce your name correctly and stop talking fast like I do and getting it hemmed up. Okay. So that was supposed to be the press conference for... Where's it at? Yeah, press conference 14. That's what it was. Yeah, it was a UFC Summit kickoff press conference. That's what it was. The UFC for yeah, okay, no, it wasn't for 214. To take that back. It was a UFC Summit kickoff. So the UFC Summit kickoff was supposed to let you know what's going on with a lot of different fighters. So it wasn't just one particular card based on what I just read. Okay, getting back into it. So the press conference gets to go on, which is great. It's a great press conference. They always do a great bang and letting people know what to expect. But here's what I didn't like about the press conference. They let too much stuff go. Okay? First of all, the back and forth between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier, typical. They always seem to go into it, way back when they got in the brawl on stage and whatnot. But the biggest part from that particular one is that they were crossing too many lines. Like Jon Jones was saying, hey, I fought you on coke and I still kicked your butt. Or something along those lines, paraphrasing. So now on national TV in front of fans, a person says, I fought you on coke, I fought you high in the UFC. That should never have happened. Because it sets a bad precedent, it sets a bad image. Now, juicy story, good fanfare, good drama, yeah. That's what you're looking for, you got it. But integrity of the sport, being a role model, being a professional person, that's kind of what you shouldn't do. And he did it. You know what I'm saying? And got away with it. I haven't heard nothing. I mean, commentators have mentioned it and they go, hey, that's pretty crazy. But you don't hear no blowback. Okay, Jon Jones is going to get dealt with because of that. All right, on top of that, from what I'm reading, I have to go to keep double checking, but it seems like Jon Jones is still technically on suspension. Okay, if he's on suspension, that means he's technically not a fighter. Okay, he's technically not on anybody's roster, and he's technically not able to fight. Like if a fight happened today, he can't fight. Okay, but yet he's not only allowed to be in the press conference, he's getting all the buzz and all the fanfare and all the push like he is. So down the line, his suspension will be lifted on a certain date. I'm not sure what date it is, but then he should be free to get all that press. But until that happens, he should not be able to get any press because he's not a fighter. Because I'm saying you can talk about him outside of the UFC, but he shouldn't be able to have a conversation and talk about him as a fighter on a UFC sanctioned media because he's on suspension. But yeah, he's still getting all that hype. Okay? So to me, that's Dana White favoritism, which is all this about. What is Dana White doing and why is Dana White letting all this stuff go? Okay? So that's one thing. Okay? That's bad. Okay? On the other hand, you got Daniel Cormier supposed to be this upstanding poster boy for being the good guy. Okay? He wants to be branded the good guy. He wants to be like, look, I'm the guy that's gonna do the right thing. It's like Hulk Hogan. I'm gonna eat my vitamins and work out and ooh yeah, all that kind of crap. Okay, but Daniel Cormier got on that back and forth with Jon Jones, got heated, and called Jon Jones the N-word on a national televised conference. Horrible. As a black man, you should never use the N-word in public to talk about somebody else, and no one should ever hear you do it to another black man. But it got happened on national TV, and now this clean-cut guy who does the right things, eat his vitamins, get his rest, and ooh yeah, has just called another man the N-word on national TV in front of the whole world. Okay? Those two incidences alone should be all over Facebook. Go, no, 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 no. Don't ever do that. You're not only embarrassing yourselves, you're embarrassing UFC. You're disrespectful. That stuff shouldn't happen. Okay? It happened. No blowback from what I can hear. Okay? So that's one thing. Then you got, Michael Chiesa against daggone Kevin Lee. Okay? Back and forth. Great. Okay? Talking the mess. Great. Kevin Lee said something about Michael Chelsea's mother. I don't think it crossed the line, but Chelsea did. Chelsea said Kevin Lee said, Chelsea, you're not on my radar. You're not a great draw. You're not a great push. So I don't know what you're thinking. The only way you're gonna get any kind of push that your mom's buying tickets to this event. Okay, Michael Chelsea took an offense to it. All right, and go leave my mother out of it. Talk about my mother again. Something gonna happen. They go back and forth. Kevin Lee says, man, I ain't worried about that stuff. Michael Chelsea gets pissed off, rushes at Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee throws a punch and tags Michael Chelsea. Okay, another should it happen situation. Excuse me, on a public forum, bing bang boom, still no blowback. Okay, nobody's being fined, no bad press. It's like, hey man, kudos. Interviews talking about it. So all this negative, imaging at this press conference, it's like it's being encouraged. It's like act a fool, say whatever, do whatever, so we can get these ratings up. It's not act professional, act cordial, be respectful, do the right thing, represent your brand in the correct way, so that we can keep the integrity of the sport. No, it's do whatever you got to do to get your name out there, okay? Which I'm not opposed to. Like, me, I'm coasting, like you see it. I'm not opposed to hyping your fight, hyping your brand, hyping your name. Hype it up. Go, I'm going to whoop your A. I'm going to do whatever. You can't stop me. I'm the baddest in the business, blah, 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 blah. Okay? But using the N-word and getting in brawls and doing all that kind of good stuff, all that is media chum for them to spin it any way they want. Because, once it goes to the media, we're going to spin it any way we want to spin it. It may not happen, the way, it may not happen one way for you, but that's not what's going to be what we're going to say. Well, I'm trying to say the right thing. But other media people for clickbait and whatnot, they're going to say whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then what you meant to happen is gone. Now you're branded this way. Okay? And the reason why I'm going with that is that I just saw a podcast with Cyborg. Cyborg was on Brandon Shaw's podcast, and it was a great podcast. I recommend you see it. It's no longer Fighting the Kid. Is Brendan Shaw's something. I can't remember it. I'll find it and put it in there. But it was a great podcast. And basically, they were talking about why Cyborg is not a higher star than she should be as being the baddest female on the planet. Why is she getting no push? Okay, so they sat down with her and they talked about what kind of problems she's having in the UFC. How come she's not getting that star treatment? Why is she still being treated the way she's being treated? Okay, so she had her boyfriend on there, well-spoken, well-knowledge, well-versed on what's going on. And they were talking about how even though she worked for Invicta, which is a owned promotion by the UFC. So if you're fighting for Invicta, even though it's a different name, it's still under the UFC banner. Okay? So what a lot of people were saying is Cyborg only had 2 fights in the UFC. Come to find out, if you look at the contract, she had 5 fights under the UFC banner. So tomatoes, if you look at it that way, you're still not fighting on the big stage, but you're still fighting for UFC. So in the negotiations, you should be like, hey, I'm 5 fights in with the UFC. I should be able to get this. He was saying that Cyborg's not getting any kind of press. They're saying she's not having any. She hasn't fought enough. She can't fight at 140. She can only fight at 145. You know what I'm saying? They made a division for her that they didn't set up for her to have. She wasn't at the UFC Summit kickoff, even though she's supposed to fight Kat Zingano. So they had all these things going on that a normal fighter who's getting a proper push and proper respect wouldn't have happened. Another fighter would have been on the press conference. Another fighter would have had a media tour. Another fighter wouldn't have a hard time getting a fight. Another fighter wouldn't get as much negative press as she's getting. And she brought a perfect example. Her steroid accusations that happened a long time ago still haunt her to today. So every time something comes up about her and being flagged by USADA, always has the highest level of negative press. Okay? In this case, remember that time back where she got flagged from USADA, something had to do with what she was taking for her hormones. Okay? It was proven that it was something that she needed. Okay? So it wasn't a banned substance. It was something approved by doctors for her to have. But because the way they put it in the media, it's like she was flagged for another steroid substance, which wasn't the case. And she explains it on the podcast. But the whole time, all she got was negative press. Nobody corrected it. She's talking about Joe Rogan saying negative press about, for her to make weight, she has to cut her penis off and things like that. All this negative press, and how it's never got corrected. No positive push. She can't get on the proper fights. And she said it would seem like they had something personal against her where she can't get it done. And if you look at it, it seems to be true. She can't get no high-level push for the UFC. It's always something negative. She can't get a proper fight. It's always something negative. They want her to fight at weights that she can't make health-wise. But who else has that problem, right? So how come she can't fight at any weight? She should be able to fight at 170 if she wants to. She's one of the top fighters in the UFC. Why doesn't she get the kind of leeway that a Nate Diaz and a Conor McGregor gets? You know what I'm saying? When she's the number one female in the whole UFC roster. There's nobody who is higher than her right now as far as being a legit fighter. Now, you do have Ronda Rousey, you have Joanna, you have Miesha Tate, you have Holly Holmes. So you got all these fighters that have high names, but they don't have the record that she has. Okay, so if you want the best to fight in the UFC, how come it's not happening? How come you're just not making it happen, period? And so, hey, fight at any weight. We'll find somebody for you to fight so you can fight in the UFC and build us and build you. She's saying no matter what it is, they're not going to let it happen. And the key is, why won't they let it happen when they let it happen with everybody else? So that's what's going on with Cyborg. You see what I'm saying? So it seems like Dana White is just letting anything go. He's not running a tight ship. Okay, now some people get favoritism, some people don't get nothing. You see what I'm saying? Why is he doing this when before this, that would never happen? The brand was more tighter. You had a system of how things went. Nobody got to run their mouth without any kind of repercussions, and the right fights got made, to the best of his ability. Now, no right fights are being made. We can't get anything booked. We got fighters talking junk, talking to him directly, calling him, you ain't F and, F you and all that kind of good stuff. When would Dana White ever take this kind of heat? He wouldn't, because he was the head honcho. You mess with me, I will destroy your career. Now, he's not doing anything. He's just letting it go. So now we're gonna bring up two incidences. We're gonna bring up the incident between him and take it back. Before we get to him and Rocco, let's talk about this past debacle with daggone George St. Pierre and Michael Bisping. They were slated to fight. When? I don't know. It was supposed to be in June, I guess, June or July. And then GSP said I can't fight until October. So that fight ended up being scratched. Okay? All this hype, all this push was behind those two fighting. Michael Bisping was going to get a great payday. George Pierre going to come back with a bang. Blah, 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 blah. You see I podcasted on it before with my last rant. Okay? But guess what? It didn't happen. All this push, all this attention, it didn't happen at all. So now what? So now Bisping got to fight Romero. Okay? A fight that should have happened anyway. Okay? Now that's back on the table. Okay? So I'm saying this to go here. Okay, Dana White had some kind of interview, some kind of podcast, or some kind of on something where he told Rocco said, why. I think it has something to do with why is GSP getting a fight with Bisping, okay? And Dana White said no. Rocco wanted to get more push. He wanted to get certain fights, and why is some fighters getting certain payday fights and other fighters aren't? And that's where it was going. Okay, Rocco was complaining about him not getting the right fights, trying to come back. Dana White says you have to earn your way in the UFC. Rocco hasn't earned any kind of title shots, hasn't earned anything. Excuse me. So Dana White says, Rocco, you don't get nothing. You haven't earned anything. So Rocco comes back and goes, okay, earn. How the hell is GSP get to come back, fight at 145 and get an automatic title shot? What has he earned to get that? Dana White comes back and says GSP hasn't lost a fight all the way up to his retirement, so he has earned that fight. But GSP has been gone for over 3 years. So what has he earned lately? There's been stars that came and went while he's been on the shelf. He hasn't fought. We don't know what he can do. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't beat anybody at this point to go, I'm a solid 185er. He might get destroyed by Bisping. We don't know that. So how does he earn it? You see what I'm saying? All these confusions are going on that we don't know what to expect from the UFC. Now UFC 211 was a great card. So they're doing okay in putting on the right cards. Okay? But Dana White obviously is no longer in control. Okay? We have too many disgruntled, angry, bitter fighters who are just saying whatever. I mean, you got Rockhold, Anderson Silva, Ala Quinta, Cyborg, and let's go on, or fighters who just don't care. Now we can't get fights. Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz, they're not even trying to get any fights. And these are some of the top of the sport. And they're not even worrying about getting fights. They don't even care. So that shows you how far we're gotten before. Nick and Nate, they couldn't stay out the cage. Any fight, they'll take it. Now they don't want nothing. All these guys like I don't care. So what is Dana White doing? What is Dana White's plan? And how is he going to fix this craziness where it's just complete media chaos? Which is what I'm saying. We're focusing on the entertainment. Okay, to the point to where a black man could call another black man the N-word on national podcasts. Podcasts on air, wherever it was being aired. Okay, he was able to do it. Okay, another man was able to say, I fought you while on cocaine. Able to say it. Okay, no blowback. Fights breaking out. Okay, the best in the business being considered a man with a penis got cut it off to make weight by Joe Rogan. You know what I'm saying? All this over-the-top negativity towards UFC and UFC fighters, it is going crazy and no one's checking it. No one's cleaning it up. No one's saying, look, this is not what we do. This is not who we are. You know what I'm saying? So what can we expect down the line? If we don't correct it, if we don't put this thing on lock, it's going to continue to get out of control. We're not going to be able to get any good quality fights because people are going to be too disenfranchised. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to have more people looking to jump ship and going to Bellator because they don't know what to expect in UFC. And that was the end result of what Rockhold was saying. He's like, look, I'm not trying to say, hey, I want an immediate title shot after being knocked out. I understand the game. You got to earn your way back. So he didn't have a problem with earning his way back. He wanted to know, what does that look like? Okay? How do I get back in the title contention? Who are the next fighters? Okay, this thing is such a chaotic, wild show that you don't know who your next fight is supposed to be. You get it, it's not a guarantee. Damian Maia, 7 in a row, still don't get a title shot. They said he has one against Tyron Woodley. We'll see. Tyron Woodley says, hey, Damian Maia is not a great draw. Why should I take this fight? Even though he's the number one contender, why should I take it? What is it going to do for my pocket? Nothing. If I had to fight over in Brazil, which most likely you're going to want to happen, pay me second figures or don't do it at all. Okay? So, it's chaos. No one is going, this is the next guy in line to make this much money to do this fight. There's none of that crap. It's so confusing that you don't know what's going on. So my question is, what is Dana White doing? So until we can figure this out, there's going to be a lot more upset fans, a lot more disgruntled, fighters, a lot more chaos in the UFC where people say, hey, it's just better over at Bellator. Okay, it's the guaranteed check. I know I can get it. I'm not having to worry about it. I can get my own sponsors. I can build a better brand in Bellator, even though it may not be all the top level fighters, but it's going to be on TV, and my opponent is still going to be solid. So I can get away with certain things. I could be a champ over there and make my bones. Because the UFC, who the hell knows what's going on? So that's my rant today. I don't know what Dana White is doing. I don't know what's going to happen. All I see is disgruntled fighters talking junk, no clear-cut paths on what's supposed to happen or how it's supposed to get there, rankings that don't make any sense, So we don't know. We don't know. That is my rant. Coach D's rant. I have to get it off my chest because I'm trying to follow it. I love the sport too much to not see where it's going to go, but I don't know where it's going to go. I am confused. All right, this is Coach D, the Wild Man, with Coach D's Rants. If you like what I'm doing, hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on YouTube, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram. Go there and I like what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing so I can keep on doing it. If you don't like it, you want me to get better, go there. And if you will fix this, you will be the bomb. But either way, I'm going to keep doing it because I'm Coach D. To hear from me again, peace out.
Yeah.